All right, I invite you to take a nice deep breath. Breathe it all the way down and relax as you release the breath. Take one more nice deep breath. Just really fill up with oxygen. And as you release the breath, relax, set your day aside, and be here now. I know that there is one life, one power, one presence, one love. And I know that that love is me. It flows in me, through me, as me. And so I know this about myself. Do I also know it about you? That you are the walking expressions of love. It is through you that miracles happen. And in this love, all things are possible. Healing is possible. Rest is possible. Peace is possible. And so I open up to that flow of love, that inexhaustible flow of love. And know that Bob's blood pressure eases as his body clears out. And that his clarity on his next step goes up. And he finds the resources that he needs, making them way to him now. And the names that you've heard and the names that you haven't. We are knowing for them that they are surrounded by peace, by warmth, by healing, and by love. And I am so grateful to know this. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to do this. And I relax, release, and know that it is so, and so it is.
Lisa and I have a static electricity issue.
Let's call it a gift.
A gift, there you go.
We're a little more electrified.
That must be it.
That's it.
You know Michael? So, well, greetings everybody. Nicole Zoltowski, I don't know her that well. She's been here, she's worked with us at the food drives, but she has a real interesting CV, and she does art therapy, among other things. And so I thought, well, come on out and tell us about it. So next Wednesday, she will be here. And then in March, David is doing 1 week, and Marcia's doing one while I'm out of town. Lisa is the Sunday between them. And more fun stuff is coming down the road as we plan future events. And tonight and Sunday will be a little bit about love and also Mardi Gras. When you come back on Sunday, there will be some Mardi Gras decor up. Thanks to Melody Chipton. The 3 colors of Mardi Gras represent faith, justice, and power. Did you know that? They're not just random. And the gold and the green, and Tulane got the green and LSU got the purple and the gold. Faith, justice, and power are representations of love. In this center, we celebrate Mardi Gras more so, I think, than we do Ash Wednesday, which puts us at a little bit of a strange light, I guess, with some of our neighbors. But we look at the celebration of life, a joyful experience, a thrilling time, and also there's a bit of mystery to it. There's a bit of all kind of otherworldly energy to Mardi Gras. It's not about drunkenness and making a public spectacle of yourself as much as it is, well, being behind a mask and what a mask can mean. You know, a mask in modern psychology, it's often you try to come out from behind the mask and let's see the real you. But there is another older spiritual practice, sense of spiritual wisdom. But behind the mask, you can be anyone. You can choose an identity and experience its reality, and then another, and then another. And none of this is wrong, and none of this limits your initial identity. It's about exploration and expansion and imagining how other people express in this life. I think it's a beautiful thing. And there's a line that you walk up to with that called cultural appropriation, which we're aware of. To me, that's about cartooning somebody else's experience, mimicking it, making fun of it. But to stand in somebody else's shoes, we were just talking about the expression in class of walking a mile in somebody's moccasins, to stand in somebody else's reality, even if it's just a sense of their reality that you've made up, is what the Renaissance Festival is all about. I look at these two, you know, and you have dress up like pirates and gypsies and stuff, and you have no idea what real pirate and gypsy experience was, but you use your imagination. And so you add something to yourself. So all I'm doing here is inviting you to have a sense of the unseen, the mysterious, as another expression of Spirit's love for you. That it's not just about the linear and the temporal and the spatial, but it's sometimes about the mysterious and the magical and the downright weird. In the deepest sense of that word, where it's spelled W-Y-R-R-D, if you read The Woman of Weird, or any of the, was that Lynn Andrews, I think? That was, where it's talking about the ancient Gaelic concept, weirdness of what they call the cunning folk. There's a wonderful book called Republic of Mind and Spirit, a cultural history of American metaphysical religion that the students in this class in Denver I'm leading are working their way through. It's kind of a tough read because it's a scholarly book. But in there they spend a lot of time talking about the cunning folk of the British Isles and Ireland, and also into the Flanders and the Low Countries and Scandinavia. The cunning folk were the people who, in the society in a village, had second sight. They knew things. They were in tune with the animals to be able to smell the weather. They knew of coming crop failures. They knew of coming sickness. They had a heads up. They had an advance warning over everybody else. And they were the people that everybody, including the church figures, went to for practical healing, for practical magic. The priests, even the bishops, could be found at their doors, and then would disavow it. Oh no, it's a sinful thing, and it's this and this and this, but I've got a migraine, can you help? You know, and so root powders and whatnot were put together. They had like a compounding pharmacy kind of thing going, but more than that, they had practical advice, and more than that, it sounds like to me, they were religious science practitioners, a great many of them. If you came back with the same thing over and over again, they'd say, who have you not forgiven? How do you feel about yourself in life? What do you need to release? What do you need to accept? They worked on interior consciousness as well. So they were wise ones. And every culture has had these. Most of them were women, but there were a few men amongst them. And they were called witches later, a term which is meaningless in that context because it was an attack word as it was used there. And it applied to not only them, but people with money and land. They could be separated from it and so forth. But this book, Republic of Mind and Spirit, makes the argument that modern metaphysicians, meaning us, we are the spiritual descendants of the cunning folk, of the weird people. And so their traditions have been passed down. And among the traditions out of the Iberian Peninsula, you know, is the Day of the Dead. And out of the Celtic world, especially in Normandy, was the whole Mardi Gras experience. And if you're interested in this, look up, I can't remember the name right offhand in French, but look up the Mardi Gras experience that is held not in New Orleans, but out in Cajun country, that is closed to the general public. And it is only the members of that society who participate, and the costumes that they manufacture, and they run a foot race through the countryside with a chicken. And the chicken used to wind up in gumbo at the end, but now they're very kind to the chicken, and the chicken is sort of an honored poultry in the society, the chicken that gets picked. They carry the chicken, and they carry it like a baton, you know, in a relay race sort of a thing. They pass the chicken. And there's some photographs that were allowed to be taken of the costumes that these people have, and they're astonishingly good and kind of frightening. But if you look at them, the first thing that struck my mind was medieval, because of course they are. And if you read the history of the Cajun people and how they got to South Louisiana after passing through Nova Scotia and then Maryland after the Counter-Reformation, having been run out of basically France, Normandy, you see how some of these things, just like the folk music in the Appalachia, you see how some of this stuff goes way back virtually unchanged. So with that, I wish you a happy Mardi Gras, les le bon temps roulé. And where love comes into this is love has never left it. Love is the essence of all of this, the embracing of life. And there's a wonderful line by Buckminster Fuller. This is, love is metaphysical gravity. And he was drawing on a line by Teilhard de Chardin, who said, driven by the forces of love, the fragments of the world seek each other so that the world itself might come into being. I mangled that. Let me give it to you again. Driven by the forces of love, the fragments of the world seek each other so that the world might come into being. Love magnetizes. Love is the mortar between the bricks. Love is the thing that draws together and then binds together, holds everything together, holds it not so tightly that it strangles the life out of it, but holds it so that it can incubate and it can grow and it can thrive. It creates communities of people. It creates a community within the self of thoughts and feelings. When Jesus said, 2 or more be gathered in my name, there also am I think what he also meant was when you get the conscious and subconscious together, there am I. When you have thought and feeling together, there you have mountains being moved. There you have great work being done. It doesn't take a partner. It's wonderful to have a partner. It's wonderful to have prayer partners like we have in this class, have more than one. But what if you're alone? Are you bereft? No, you have thought, you have feeling, you put the two together, and something amazing happens. That's love. Love is light plus heat. Love is affinity plus passion. It takes both. I was telling the class today, there's an article I just saw about how Texas is, and this is a cause for great pride for us, Texas is the second most sinful state in the United States of America. Have you seen this? Nevada won, or Nevada, for reasons I don't need to go into. And Texas was second because we practice gluttony, and we have anger, and we have lust. And most of all, apparently, we have vanity. We're vain people, vain and gluttonous and lustful and angry people. And part of that had to do with the profusion of beauty parlors in Texas and nail salons. And the question came up in class, is that per capita or overall? I don't know. But we have a lot of beauty salons and nail salons, and they don't call them beauty salons, you know what I mean. I mean no disrespect. Beauty parlor. Women's hair places. But the thing that struck me as just wrong is they didn't mention barbershops. So it's not vanity when a man goes and gets his hair cut, but it is when a woman has hers cut, and that's just crazy, Well, All of these different forms of life, all of these different types of expression, they're astonishing to some people, you know. That we push back against the rules, we push back against the laws that are given to us. We want to thrive, we want to live large, we want to live in a great big way. And that is love. Love is not small. Love is not contained and deeply ingrained and so respectful that it doesn't challenge authority. Love is big and boastful and loud and colorful and messy. Love is messy. Love is equal parts, like I say, light and heat. You have an affinity for something, but if you're not passionate about it, the affinity just falls away. Again, our musicians, these amazing musicians, to play those guitars takes calluses. To get those calluses takes commitment. Because I don't care who you are, what kind of instrument you start playing, even with nylon strings, a little child's instrument, at first it's ow, it hurts. Does not hurt to play a piano. Piano has other issues. You have to have a certain posture. But this stuff, it hurts your fingers, okay? And you notice when they were playing an A and an E, I think, wasn't it? And they weren't looking at it. They know where it is. They've got muscle memory. How do you get muscle memory? Repetition. Lisa runs, which is way more astonishing to me than guitar playing. Because you can play a guitar sitting in a chair, that's great. Lisa gets up, and Tom, and they run, and they run, and they run till they're out of sight. They run till they're over the horizon and stuff. How are they able to do that? Muscle memory, conditioning, practice. They didn't just start out running the distances they do. They worked up to it. And diet had to come into it, and other forms of exercise, and breath control, and I don't know what all they had to do, but it all takes commitment. And you won't have that if you only have affinity. You've got to have fire. You've got to have passion back up it too. And then you've got the matter of critique, because Lisa and Tom run competitively, yes? Okay? And so they're judged effectively. You guys, we just throw unconditional love at. I don't know if you've entered any musical contests, but if you did, they'd be judging you, you see? And so then there's the possibility of negative feedback. You didn't win, or you came in 10th place or something like that, you know? And then you're like, oh man, I'm not good enough. And so the world can chip away at your affinity if you don't have the passion. But if you have the passion and they tell you you didn't win, your response is, I'll be back. I'll be back. And your awareness is that while somebody else is resting, you're practicing. While somebody else is making excuses, you're practicing. While somebody else is debating whether or not they'll ever be good at it, enough at it, you pick up the instrument, lace up your sneakers, and you're practicing. And you're doing the thing because you've got the passion for it. I love stories about people like this who just would not be denied. One of them passed away yesterday, A.E. Hotchner. Look him up sometime. Great friend of Hemingway, and also J.D. Salinger, who he made one mistake with Salinger. He was an editor for the Atlantic, I think it was, or maybe Esquire. You know, Salinger, Catcher in the Rye, Salinger, Franny and Zoe, Perfect Day for Banana Fish, Salinger, he was a noted recluse, and so he wrote this piece and he gave it to Hotchner, and he said, you changed not one comma. To an editor, he says this, you changed not one comma, you print this exactly as I did. So Hotchner didn't change the comma, but his boss changed the title. And Salinger never spoke to Hotchner again for the rest of his life. But this was a guy who came out of nowhere to be a friend of great literary giants, and also their agent, and an evocateur and a provocateur for them, inspiring them to greater work, and didn't find work himself. And up to age 100, he passed, I think, at 102, up to age 100, he was still writing screenplays and having them produced. Okay? Isn't that excellent? I love stories like that of people who come out of nowhere. Why? Because they've got the passion to back up the affinity. And that's love. You want your life to work, you have a clear idea of how you want it to be, and you get excited about it. whatever it is. Next month, March, we're going to talk an awful lot about creativity and the creative process and the arts and beyond. But it applies in every area of life, in commerce, in romance. Last week, how do we top romance? Could we have a better night on romance than we had last Wednesday night? Where a man comes down off the stage after his second song, drops to one knee and proposes to his beloved. Can you script something like that? Well, I'll tell you a cool follow-up. I heard about this on Sunday. On Sunday, Vicki Jeter and her husband Vernon were here. Vicki Jeter is a longtime practitioner of the center, and then they moved to Louisville, Kentucky some years ago because he's in the amusement park business. When Astro World closed, they went off with Six Flags to Louisville. Well, 25 years ago this week, or last weekend, they were married, and I did the service. And so they were in town, and it happened to be, they planned to come here because they have a friend that wanted to visit our center from Louisville, and they brought her. But it happened to fall on the weekend of their 25th anniversary. So they were here on Sunday, with a small entourage of people. Meanwhile, we've changed up some things here, and at 9:30 we have a meditation, and then I give a talk so that the musicians can rehearse. As a result, we have more musicians involved, and they're putting in more time on rehearsal, and they're actually thinking ahead more of what to do. And they knew that the theme of the month was love. So they cooked stuff up, and they don't tell me what it is. They just tell me who's playing, so we know how many microphones to have. And so at 11 o'clock on Sunday, here come Brian and Jeffrey and Melody Berryman. And they did a song, and then they did a second song, and the second song was The Rose, Bette Midler version of the Rose, and Vicki lost it. They'd had that song at their wedding 25 years ago. But it gets weirder than that. Vicki's minister in Louisville is out of town. When she is, Carolyn Harville, Vicki usually speaks there in Louisville. Vicki was here Sunday, so they had yet another speaker who was Brent Uzel. Brent Uzel has a wife named Shannon Modrell. They used to also be in the Houston area. Okay? So Brent spoke at the Louisville church, and unbeknownst to Vicki till she got home, Shannon got up and sang at that service, The Rose by Bette Midler. And it gets weirder than that, because Shannon is who sung that song 25 years ago at their wedding. And none of this was planned. All we knew was, up there as well as here, was, well, the theme is love, and let's go through the book of love songs. And The Rose is, it's beautiful. And it's also kind of easy. It's not got a lot of key changes. It doesn't require a symphony. I mean, it's a pretty straightforward thing. But that was all that went into that. Isn't it amazing how love calls together all the disparate pieces of time and space and arranges them in a certain way to make a certain thing happen? And it was about Vicki and Vernon, but it was also about everybody else concerned. It was about everybody who's going to see this on YouTube unless Lisa deletes it. And now it lives with you, and you can't shake it off. And you go out of here and you'll think to yourself, magic is possible. Love is real. Something is happening. Right now, a vast conspiracy is underway in your world. A vast conspiracy is underway in your world to provide to you love, joy, and grace. It is lining up in bizarre, mysterious, and utterly unpredictable ways to deliver to you at the least expected moment a payload of amazing good. I promise you this. I promise you this. Because even if I didn't believe it, you'd come and tell me about it, and I'd have to. And you can only bat it away for so long. That's chance, and that's circumstance, and that's a lucky break, and finally you just, if you have any integrity at all, you just have to throw your hands up and say, well, I give in. There must be a power. There must be a presence. There must be something binding all of this together. And of course there is. So why not just do it the easy way and believe it going in, that right now something is unfolding in and to and through you and all those whom you love to provide some amazing love. Some amazing love in whatever form you need it. And that will be the final point for the evening, I think. In what form do you need it? Only you know. Friends will look at you, size you up, say you could use a little this or that. I'll come paint rainbows all over your blues. But you and you alone know. Never let anyone else tell you what you need. You know. They may make suggestions with the best of intentions, but they don't know. And they should look within themselves. And actually, not to be snarky, but very often what people do when they don't want to look within themselves is they'll look within you instead. Okay? It's just, we know this, we've done it ourselves. When I'm all about fixing everybody else, in fact, that's that whole program that meets here on Saturday afternoons from 5 to 6. It's just about that, is when I'm so involved in looking into you and fixing you and rescuing you and changing you, I'm doing it to turn up the volume where I don't have to hear my own issues. So we don't want to be that person. So what we do is we look within and we say, all right, where's my heart hurting? Where could I use some more love? Where could I use some more appreciation? Now, how can I go about directly requesting it? How can I go about positioning myself to receive it? I got to leave the house. And that's what that great song, Love and Spoonful, Paint Rainbows All Over Your Blues, John Sebastian, that wonderful, y'all should do it some night. It's a wonderful song. Real bouncy, you know. And says in there, run to your closet and pick out your blue suede shoes. Because you can't, in the same environment you've been in depression in, it's difficult to snap out of it. So let's go outside. Let's go out into the city. Let's put on our dancing shoes and get outside there and position ourselves to receive this kind of love, this kind of joy, you know? On the 29th of February, we will feed again a couple of hundred people, 13,000 pounds of food. Why? I know 13,000 pounds, that's how much the pallets add up to. And we went through every last ort of it. This O-R-T is a crossword puzzle word. It means scrap of food. You'll want to remember that if you work crossword puzzles. We went through every last scrap of food last time. See, it's one thing to sit in here and say, I'm going to treat and know that everybody who's hungry gets fed. And it's another thing to be the conduit by which that happens. It's an extension of that. So sometimes you got to leave the house for love to come to town, for it to get delivered by means of you. And that's good for your heart on every level. To get out there and love and practice love and greet the stranger and smile at the unknown, you know? It's good to do that for you. It builds muscle memory, heart muscle memory, to take in that there are others that you'll never know deeply, but you have something for them. You have unconditional approval of who they are. So we don't fix and change and mess with and get in the heads of other people. We just bathe them all in unconditional love. And we affirm and know one thing, always, whether they've asked for it or not, and that is that everybody knows who they are. Because they're entitled to. Everybody gets to know who they are because they're entitled to. There's nothing manipulative about that. I don't want anything from them. Everybody gets to know who they are. And as they get to know who they are, they take better care of themselves, and consequently they take better care of everybody else. And we start to live in a world that does, in fact, work for everyone, where, as I'll talk about on Sunday, it's a world peopled with friends. It's a world peopled with friends, people we haven't met yet, but we're about to, who will bring us a beautiful representation of who they are, and again, a mirror for who we are and what we can become. So let's know together now, one life, one power, one presence. Its name is love. It is a presence operating through a principle. That's for Janet. It's a presence operating through a principle. Love working through law. To manifest in solid, tangible, recognizable form. Heaven on earth, no less than that. How would it be, Ernest Holmes asked, many years ago, 70 years ago, how would it be if a group of people were to arrive on Earth who were for something and against nothing? How would it be if a group of people were to know the self, meeting the self, what Holmes called the friend with a capital F, the beloved, who recognized the presence, the essence of the beloved in one another's eyes? How would it be? And what difference would this group make? Well, we are that group. We are members of that group, that Aquarian conspiracy. We have opted into it because we will settle for nothing less. We have been told from time to time that some people are bad and wrong and to be shunned and to be corrected or to be just utterly ignored. And we have refused to buy into that. We have been taught that certain things are sinful and cause perpetual shame in the eyes of God. We refuse to buy into that too. Instead, we know there's an ethical way of living that is its own reward and its own punishment as a natural consequence by means of a law of cause and effect. And all the universe does is just pour out its love on us unceasingly and unstintingly, allowing us to be exactly who we are, learning from our mistakes, occasionally stumbling and falling, and then picking ourselves back up to move forward with greater awareness than ever before. Love's path is certain, for love is all there is. Love and the conversation about love. And from time to time, the pretense that there is no love, which is like holding your breath, because sooner or later, you'll breathe again. When you're ready, when you've had enough of the struggle, enough of the suffering, we'll breathe again. And we'll take in the nutrients. We'll be back in the center of love's circle. For this knowing and its manifestation in form, I am so deeply grateful. I release this word now into the infinite, calling it done, and so it is.
So it is. Courir is to, Courir laugh? No, that's rear. Yeah, hang on a second. Oh, Courir, to run. Yeah, Fat Tuesday Run, the Rural Mardi Gras celebration, is based on early begging rituals, similar to those still celebrated by mummers, wassailers, and celebrants of Halloween. As Mardi Gras is the celebration, the final day before Lent, celebrants drink and eat heavily. Imagine that in South Louisiana. And also dress in specialized costumes, ostensibly to protect their identities. Popular practice include wearing masks, capuchons, that's carrying the chicken or rooster, and costumes, overturning social conventions, dancing, drinking alcohol, begging, feasting, and whipping. I don't recommend the whipping. I think it's all in good fun. But anyhow, yeah, wouldn't that be a kick? A couple of them you can join, but many of them are just for the families that live there.